Welcome to Hip to the Scene. Talking music, videos, and everything in between.
Hello, everybody. My name is Andy Gessner, and I am welcoming you to episode 8 of Hip to the Scene, where every episode we lean on an expert, someone who is 100% hip to the scene and fully qualified to answer the question we know that our viewers, independent creatives from all over this world torn asunder, are looking to have answered. And today's question is basically getting at the core of everything we do in the musical world. And that question is, how do you have a hit song? Yes, ladies and gentlemen, a hit song. I am quite confident everyone viewing is longing and craving and perhaps praying for a hit song. So, what are we doing? We're going to talk to someone who can speak directly to this question, and that person is the one and only Jim Peterick. Welcome to Hip to the Scene.
Hey, Andy, whatever you're taking, I'll take some of it too.
Well, I got to tell you, Jim, you are the poster child for if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life.
Amen. Amen to that. And songwriting for me is really where it starts. You know, yeah, I love to stand on stage and show off, but you got to have something to sing. And I've never been into the cover band thing. I mean, even in the early Ides of March back in '64, we were playing a fair amount of originals, things like with crazy funny titles like Like It or Lump It and No Two Ways About It, until I finally wrote something that really sounded like a hit record. What does that sound like? I don't know, but when you hear it, you kind of know, right? And it's called You Wouldn't Listen. And in fact, Larry, who is helping me out here, I've known Larry since third grade. He's my right-hand man and amazing engineer, songwriter, and great pal. We collaborated on this thing called You Wouldn't Listen. It went to number 42 on the Billboard charts and number 7 in Chicago. And suddenly we're on American Bandstand and Mama Cash Show. And all these great things were opening up to us. And I was 15. So I was baptized very young, Andy.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, watching Hip to the Scene, this transmission is very special for us here because, let's face it, folks, there are plenty of hit songs in circulation right now. There always are. But how many of today's hits will people still be singing in 10 years? Or will they be singing in 30 years? Or dare I say 50 years? Takes a very special musician to write songs that remain in the popular imagination for decades, songs that become part of our pop cultural heritage. Grammy Award-winning Jim Peterick, he is that rare songwriter. And though you may not be familiar with the name, you know the songs. Yes, the songs live on. They are legendary. Hits come and go, and some number one smashes are quickly forgotten, but Vehicle by the Ides of March and Eye of the Tiger by Survivor, each written by our guest today, will surely outlive us all.
Which... Thank you for, you're right. I mean, not just my stuff, but, classic rock. That's what Stallone, when he gave me that answering machine call, hey, yo, Jim, give me a call, it's Sylvester Stallone. It's a nice, I thought someone was putting me on, of course. And when my wife, Karen, finally says, just on the off chance, you better call this dude back, So I dial the Los Angeles area code, which is a pretty good sign that it might be legit. And I go, this is Jim Peterick. Is this really Sylvester Stallone? He goes, hey, Jimbo, call me Sly, And it's funny you should say that, because he said, that Gonna Fly Now song, it's really nice, but I need something for the kids, something with a pulse. Can you help me out? I said, no problem, Sly. And he said, I want something that's going to outlive you and me. And but that's what we set out to do. And so far, so good. That was 1982, and Eye of the Tiger is still in the lexicon. It's still being played, performed. It's motivating people to go that final mile, to beat cancer, to fight. I'm very proud that I'm a part of that message.
And how fitting was it when that phone call came in, just like any other hardworking creative, you went to grab something to write down notes. What did you grab, Jimbo?
A notebook, and my little Walkman or whatever the hell it was, and start singing into it. And then when we got the movie, I just started going, like that. And we're watching the punches being thrown, and I'm going, let's see, go. Wait for the punch. You get the idea. And we were off and running. And man, I'll tell you, those moments don't happen that much. But people say, what's the best song you have ever written? And I go, maybe I haven't written it yet. So I always chase that elusive great song.
Well, yes, sir. You are a great inspiration. Not only have you written an inspirational anthem like Eye of the Tiger, but you, sir, are inspirational in that tenacity and stick-to-itiveness. You gotta be darn certain, everybody seeing this transmission, that Jim is now going to share with you the sage wisdom that when it comes to songwriting, it really is about tenacity and stick-to-itiveness, isn't it, Jim?
Oh my God, yeah. If you don't write 20 songs in a given period, you may not get that one or two that is really special. And they're not all going to be gems. Come on, we're not geniuses, but you get lucky. You get lucky. You get inspired. You hear something on the news. Someone says a phrase, or "I'm your vehicle, baby." That one came about from a girl I was trying to win back, and she had dumped me. But I had this cool car. I had a '64 Plymouth Valiant, and you can relate to that, of course. And suddenly she starts calling me again after we broke up. She said, this is not a date, but can you take me to modeling school? I said, yeah. I'd sit next to her. Maybe she'd hug me or give me a kiss, whatever, And after about 3 months of that, I'm thinking to myself, I'm starting to resent it. I'm going, all I am is her vehicle, baby, See, that's how a seed starts. That's how a song starts. And I just heard that ba-da-ba-ba-da, that lick in my head. And I wrote the song and showed it to the guys. We arranged it. And suddenly we're on the road with all these great bands like Jimi Hendrix. And guess who starts calling me again? This time for a date. This girl said, maybe we should try this again. Maybe I was a little hasty, these ladies. And I let her hang on that phone for a good long 3 seconds before I said, absolutely, let's try it. And 49 years later, that's still my wife, and I'm still her vehicle, baby.
Well, Karen is one lucky lady to have a man in her life like Jimbo. Jimbo, one of the things that is universally known about you in this very difficult industry is that you, my friend, you are a people person. You are generous and kind. And when it came time to go to the Led Zeppelin party, it was like that old Three Dog Night song. You were thinking of Mama don't want me to be here. You have always flown against the just the long-standing sex, drugs, and debauchery. And here you are, and you're still fighting a good fight. You don't always know that you might have a hit song.
Oh, yeah. I got you.
Please speak to how sometimes a song can be, shall we say, shelved for a while, and then you might show it to a trusted collaborator, and boom.
Well, that happens all the time. You know, sometimes you underestimate a song, and the co-writer goes, "What's that? That's fantastic." Sometimes it's the other way where you go, "This is fantastic." Everybody goes, "That sucks," you know. But I remember, writing with 38 Special. You know, we the first thing we ever wrote together was, you see it all around you. You know, hold on loosely, man. We caught lightning in a bottle, man. And it was Don Barnes here and Jeff Carlisi and Jeff. Don started it. 'Cause we're all sitting around eating nachos that Karen was making. And kind of like, it's a little awkward. It's like a blind date times 3, right? And Don Barnes says, I got a title. And I go, well, what? Let's hear it. He goes, Hold On Loosely. I said, man, that's cool, but don't let go. Yeah. And I started thinking about dating Karen when I was 17 and how I was getting a little too heavy for her, And then Jeff Carlisi goes, well, I got a riff. And he says, it's kind of like the Cars, I said, man, that's fantastic. So in this case, I kind of became the alchemist in the room, putting all those elements together. And that's a really good talent to have as a songwriter. You don't always initiate the idea, but you're like the piece of tofu that attracts all the flavors, And we knocked that thing out in about, 4 hours. We sent it to Mark Spector, the manager. He goes, you guys got a #1 record here. And we go, fantastic. But those are the magic moments. You just wait for lightning to strike like that. Same thing with heavy metal, Again, a blind date that John Kolodner, I don't know if that name rings a bell with you. John Kolodner, famous, iconic A&R man for Atlantic, then different record companies, Geffen and stuff like that. He's the guy with the long Hasidic beard, the guy that was in a wedding dress for Aerosmith's Pump video. You remember the guy?
Yes.
He was like my mentor. And he put me together with Hagar and put me together with Henry Paul and the Outlaws and Steve Tyler. And he was just a fantastic guy. And I owe a lot to him putting me together with various collaborators. And each collaborator brings something else out of you.
And of course, you have over many decades now as a songwriting expert. I mean, not only did you write the book Songwriting for Dummies, but you mentor lots of the best and brightest new talent out there. What are the biggest pitfalls you see these talented creatives are falling for, and the traps and the booby traps? It's crazy out there, Jimbo.
Wow, there's so many pitfalls. One is underestimating your own talent and material. I'm writing with a band in Nashville right now that they're very low key. They're signed and everything, but they have no self-esteem. They're like, well, listen to this. It's probably a piece of, and I'll listen and go, dude, think again. And I find the gem amidst the rhinestones, and a lot of times there's something they missed. So that's a big pitfall. The other extreme is overestimating your talents and your assets and thinking that you've got the next Hey Jude, and it ain't. So you got to be kind of realistic, and you got to rely on other people's ears, get some opinions, take them seriously. I mean, provided that you trust that person and his taste or her taste. So those things.
When it comes to a song, I know that you're a big fan of recording things and making sure that everything that comes out of your creative energies are, shall we say, filed away perhaps for future use.
The way I categorize things, downstairs in my basement, I have lockers full of notebooks, all dated, with a lot of songs that haven't been written, you know. And so if I go through a dry period of inspiration, I'll either get with a collaborator, which is great, or I'll collaborate with myself. And I'll just pick a notebook. And sometimes those unfinished ideas, maybe you got to live another 20 years to realize it and to bring the story to fruition. And I'll finish a song that I started. It's like collaborating with yourself. And that's another technique that I recommend to songwriters, because, you know, it's a way to break out of a creative slump.
Absolutely. Now, of course, in 1964, up until that point, most parents got their kids in an accordion. And all of a sudden, there were these mop tops coming out of Britain, and I know how much they influenced you. But all of a sudden, the suburban kids were buying guitars, and wow, Jim, you were just a baby lamb teenager and all this stuff was happening. It's been said experience is a hard teacher. She gives the test first and the lessons afterwards. What do you wish you would have known back in the late 60s when, oh my gosh, those 50,000 watt Chicago radio stations, whether it was WLS or WCFL, they were supporting the entire scene, and just kids literally out of high school going to college or on the charts. I know how Quick Vehicle rose in the charts because I was listening. One week it was just outside the top 40, then all of a sudden it was 33, and then it was 19, and then it was 9, and then it was 2. It was like all of a sudden you're a 19-year-old kid with a number 2 Billboard smash.
Man, I'll tell you, and number 1 in Cashbox, although that was the weak sister. But
absolutely,
I'll take it. I think, you know, my biggest regret, it's really not a huge regret, was listening to my parents. That sounds weird, but they were like, well, Jimmy, this is going to pass. It's nice. You're number 1 right now, number 2, whatever. But, you know, you need something to fall back on. You know, that old, you got to, you know, fall back on something because this music thing, that's kid stuff. It's not really going to last. And they're probably right. But at age almost 71, guess what, folks? It's lasted, you know. But, you know, I went to college and the University of Illinois, and I have to say I kind of wasted a lot of time. And I never did graduate because suddenly, man, we had to hit the road. But I could have had more forward momentum if I had taken those 2 years and just kept at it with the eyes and kept putting out records and motivating towards that finish line. So this is not a good lesson that Andy's going to really get a lot of fans from the parents. But if you really have that talent, you really do have that vision, give yourself the best chance.
Yes, indeed. What Jim is saying, ladies and gentlemen, is 100% true. It's better to try something and fail than do nothing and succeed. And yes, many of you watching have had parental units that were giving you the icy eyeball with the music stuff. I'll never forget when I showed my dad my first record album, Jimbo. He picked it up, looked at it, kind of pulled the sleeve out. You know, he was examining it like a product in a department store. He puts it down on the table, looks up at me and says, "This is all well and good, son, but are you making any money?"
Exactly. Well, then you've been there, Andy.
Yes, sir.
My son, totally different. He's 32 now, and you know, enormously talented. He's got a solo album coming out, and he's got a a Steely Dan tribute band called Brooklyn Charmers. Really proud of him. 2 grandchildren, blah, blah, blah. But he's finally ready. He's finally ready to get out there as a solo artist. I'm really, really proud of him, but I never, ever pushed him, because that's the best way of, really discouraging somebody. They want to feel they're empowered and their own captain.
Well, I can imagine as a proud daddy, you want Colin on some of your projects, but in one of the podcasts that I listened to, he was very clear. He said, having a legendary musical figure as a dad is one of the greatest things in the world, but sometimes they'll come to me and it's just not something that fits my filter. You got a smart kid there, Jimbo, that knows where he's gonna fit in and where he might not.
Yeah, I'm proud of that, although I'm pissed. But no, I'm seriously, he can't. I'm really glad he's got his own vision of where he wants to be as an artist and a songwriter. And he's watched me songwrite forever. He's 32 now, and it's a nonstop profession for me. It doesn't stop because I'm in the supermarket picking out the best avocado. It keeps going, and people know, oh, there's Jim. I'm into the phone and putting down an idea for later, and I'll get home and I'll see if there's anything there. But Karen is a saint, because she's really used to me not being always totally engaged with what she's saying. But she knows that this is me. And she accepted that when she was 19 and I was 21 and we got married.
Yes, indeed. And those early 70s years, it was almost as if Mr. and Mrs. P might have had a little bit of leverage, because all of a sudden, yes, indeed, it is a cruel, shallow trench out there. In other words, passing fads. And yes, I think that is why when Survivor got that call, you felt that palpable sense of urgency, because tell this audience, you gotta be ready for your opportunities when they come.
That's right. I mean, you have to be ready. When Stallone left that message, I thought it was a joke, but when I called him back, I was confident as could be, because I knew this was the golden moment that I've been waiting for, and then it came again a year and a half later, when Frankie and I are sitting around the pool in the South opening up for REO Speedwagon, and hey, yo, we got to do it again. I got a movie called Rocky IV. Can you help us out? Hell yeah. Send us the script, and we saw that East versus West dichotomy and the political tension, and it's really a great story to write a song from. I mean, people say, is it hard to write for a movie? No, man, it's easy. As long as it's a great movie, you got your script, you got your schematic right there. You don't have to create a story out of whole cloth, So writing for film, Delirious, I wrote the theme song for John Candy's Delirious, called Welcome to My Wildest Dreams. And again, you have the script, you have the storyline. All you got to do is put some effing great notes to it.
When everything did happen with Eye of the Tiger, it was almost an instant replay of 1970, in that, ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to writing a hit song, you gotta hook 'em to cook 'em. Come on, folks. Don't do the big, long opening. You gotta get right into it. Do. You're hooked. Or, Jim, give it to us. Give us that.
Well, that's true. The hook the beginning hook is so important. But Eye of the Tiger had a 30-second intro. But that was the hook in itself, with the punches. So that flew against, traditional wisdom, but nobody fell asleep during that intro,
No, sir. And it definitely did speak to the challenges that you felt in the 70s, in that you really have to stay in the fight?
Oh man, and well said. But vehicle was just right off the right off 1, 2, ba da ba ba da. Got to do that rhythm thing. Then the horns come back. Ba ba da ba ba da. Ba ba da ba ba da. Hey, well, I'm the friendly stranger in the black sedan. Drop inside my car. I got pictures. Can he am a lovable man? Take you to the nearest stop. I'm your vehicle, baby. Take it anywhere you want to go. I'm your vehicle, woman. But now I'm sure you know that I love you. I need you. I want you. Got to have you, child. Great God in heaven, you know I love you. 1, 2, ba-da-ba-ba-da.
Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen, from Berwyn, Illinois, the one and only Jim Peterick. Jim, you need to tell us about this awesome new record coming out. You've mentored so many incredible people, and he was talking about REO Speedwagon, obviously, when Kevin from the band, right? He came to see an Ides of March show, and he was just a pimply faced kid, right, Jim?
Kevin Cronin?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh my God. He hired us for their homecoming dance at his high school. So we go back, and we're still dear friends. We were both just inducted, along with the Ides of March, into the Illinois Hall of Fame, which you'll hear a lot more about. But that was a big honor. He flew in for that. Buddy Guy, all these great stars that I was that we were nominated with, and Cronin and I just cut up and had a blast. He's just a local guy from Oak Lawn. Yeah, Oak Lawn. Of course, now he's been Hollywood for many years now, and I don't hold that against him.
Well, there were bands, and many bands, they start someplace and then they find, shall we say, a different place to go. But what we love about you, Jim, is the Ides of March will always be from Berwyn, Illinois.
And we make a big deal of it. But getting back to Tigress, which is coming out November 5th, it's all female. All the vocalists are female, and a lot of the guitar players, Jennifer Batten, who, of course, ripped it up with Michael Jackson, and not a bad guitarist named Jeff Beck. She of the mohawk hair back in the day. She's all over this album. Kathy Richardson, who's has been with the Jefferson Starship now for about 6 years, who I mentored and discovered when she was 19. Very proud of that. And it's just so many great females. Leslie Hunt, and from Vixen, Janet Gardner, and on and on and on. This album, it's going to be on Frontiers. Frontiers is kind of my label in Italy, but they're worldwide now. The very first Pride of Lions album, that was the first album I did with them in 2003 with Toby Hitchcock, he was the great singer I was looking for. Sadly, when Jimmy Jameson passed, he was the guy that, as a songwriter, and Andy, I think you can relate to this, I thrive on great voices. And I've got a good voice, but I look for that Dave Bickler, that Jimmy Jameson, that Don Barnes magical voice, that Toby Hitchcock, to inspire me. And knowing I could write a note up there, like a high C or an E, and damn it, he can sing it, or she can sing it. So the singer's very important to me as a songwriter.
Like the interview you did, Jim, where it's your first big hit. I can imagine hearing You Wouldn't Listen to Me on WCFL as a teenage kid. Must have been a thrill of a lifetime. But you had a manager that, at this point will go nameless, who came to visit y'all rehearsing in your basement. And he told you about modulation.
Yeah, that is a great story. Actually, Dutch Winslow can be named because he should have really gotten credit of producing You Wouldn't Listen, but he got usurped by a manager. Anyway, long story, but it's true. I mean, he came down. He liked Like It or Lump It, and no two ways about it, which we pressed up ourselves. But he came to hear, what do you got more? What do you got? And played him a couple things. Well, that's nice. What else? And we had just written. We pulled an all-nighter at Larry's house, and we played him a thing that he said, "What is that?" And it was, this real simple kind of Holly's lick, and it's good, And it got to the last chorus. He goes, "Stop, stop, stop!" And I go, "What?" He said, "Man, you got a top 10 record if you put a modulation in there." And we go, "Yeah." What's a modulation? And he goes, "Well, that's when you kind of lift it up or lower it, but usually you lift it up like a half step or a whole step, and the excitement just blossoms, So, we started, and I told you he was a fool. And suddenly, yeah! It was like this revelation, right? And I owe it all to Dutch Winslow.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, what a pleasure it has been, this transmission with the one and only Jim Peterick, songwriter extraordinaire. We spoke about the book. You want to learn all about Jim and his incredible life story, just a kid in the suburbs of Chicago. And look at him now, ladies and gentlemen, living large, loving life, and giving back. He's giving back to those who need the sage wisdom and the tutelage the most. So I encourage everybody viewing this episode of Hip to the Scene, go out and buy a copy of Through the Eye of the Tiger.
Thank you, Andy. Wow, pleasure talking to you, because you get it, and you've done it, and that's very, very cool. So
yes, sir. Well, I will tell you, just like how Elvis Presley changed your young life, it was a Sunday night. I had an older sister just like you, Jim. I also was an accident.
Yep.
She came into my room. It was a Sunday night. She was 13, all whipped up. She said, come on. We're going to watch Beatles on TV. And I remember sitting there. My older brother was on one side, jaw hit the floor. My sister was on the other side, spinning like a whirling dervish. I turned around, look at my parents. They were aghast.
Not in a good way.
No, they were like, we should not be subjecting our children to this nonsense. But I think anybody who saw that knew that the landscape was shifting.
I mean, and they're so clean cut when you look at them now. Oh my God.
One last question. Is it really true that in 1964, you had handlers who said, kids, we got to go to the wigwam?
How do you know all this stuff? Oh my God.
Because I'm a super fan, Jim. Yeah. I get it. You wanted to be noticed. I'm just like you. I was just born to be out front. Hey, look at me.
Yeah, man. Our manager, shuffled us off to the wig. Actually, it was called the Wigdom, but close enough. It wasn't a wigwam. They probably had to change the name for copyright. But anyway, we all got fitted for our wigs, and they were pretty nice. They had the comb in the front, and we made it to our gig in Algonquin, Illinois, a place called the New Place. And there we were, these mutants from Berwyn, Illinois, in our long-haired wigs, And everybody was like, whoa, who are these guys? And in the audience was a group called The Flock, who, of course, had hits with Take Me Back and The Horns. And they were watching us during this show. and they invited us over to the house because they wanted to learn how we do those harmonies. So we went over the next day, not thinking too much about it, without our wigs, and we opened the door. They opened the door and go, "Who the hell is this?" It's the Ides of March. Oh man, they were so disappointed, man. We had the typical little Beatle cuts, and but we taught them. They wanted to work out "I Get Around" by the Beach Boys, and we tried to help them. But just a real short story. Thanks for letting me tell it.
It's a shorty, an oldie, but a goodie, Jim. All right, everybody, do not go away from this transmission without checking out Jim's website. Jim, you want to let the viewing audience and listening audience know where to find you, sir?
Well, it's at Facebook, Jim Peterick at Facebook.com. Jimbo at, I don't know those things. You tell them.
All you have to do, ladies and gentlemen, is Google his name.
There you go.
Absolutely. And just know there's a brand new record coming out on November 5th. It is called Tigress Women Who Rock the World. Definitely check out World Stage. That is Jim's ongoing project where he helps all kinds of up and coming talented creatives just like you looking to get a leg up in the music industry. But I can speak on behalf of my entire team here. Jim, it's been a great pleasure and a great thrill to get to speak with you on Hip to the Scene.
Yeah, Andy, thank you. Pop, pop.